one of the things I'm going to advise Donald Trump to do in order to correct the chronic disease epidemic is to ban pharmaceutical advertising on TV. There's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical advertising on the airwaves. One of them is New Zealand and the other is us. And we have the highest disease rate and we buy more drugs and they're more expensive than anywhere in the world.
Hey, welcome to episode 14 of The Whiners. Jeff, how are you?
December 26, 2024.
Today?
I am at the top of my game. I just took a nap, so I'll probably make it through the entire show. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, very good. I wanted to also introduce our guest and my longtime buddy, Dr. James Schlotman, MD. That's not a doctor on TV. Yep. Let me say a little bit more. Dr. James Schlotman is a anesthesiologist. He puts people to sleep professionally at the Parkview Medical Center in Indiana. It's a big job, actually. And yes, we've known each other since 2002, I think. And you studied at Baylor right here in Texas.
Yeah, Houston. It's a great medical center. It's amazing. It's a good institution.
So I thank you for coming on short notice.
I'm impressed that Ryan was able to pronounce anesthesiologist. Out of all the different kind of specialties in the medical profession, that may be the most difficult. I
chose it because of Ryan, honestly. I was like, this will throw the guy for a loop for sure.
All right.
Well, right now, Ryan and I are medicating ourselves with our own special anesthesiologist stuff. What do you call it? What is it that you anesthetize people with? Is there a word for that?
Gas.
Drug. Gas.
Michael Jackson juice is what some people call it.
Wait, but this isn't Michael Jackson juice.
No, this is wine. I got regular wine too.
Good.
The record, yeah.
I feel so much better when it's endorsed by a medical professional.
Well, they say it leads to better health, the antioxidants anyway. So whether you get one glass.
Yeah, I would like to believe that, but I know some recent studies have said, that's nonsense. So seriously, what do you believe? Do you think it actually is beneficial to one's health?
Yeah, well, if you're chugging a bottle a day of this stuff, it's not gonna help much in many other aspects, but antioxidants in general help. And part of it is just behavioral lifestyle. So if you're relaxing more, you're, like you guys, just hanging out, talking with friends, as opposed to doom scrolling or something. It's probably
so that's kind of like an indirect benefit. I mean, I guess there's a question about whether or not actually simply imbibing a little bit of wine in and of itself is beneficial. But if it relaxes you, if it makes you happy, if it makes you more social, like interacting with people,
the stress level comes down, right?
So it does actually help to reduce stress.
Well, yeah, but it's also a lifestyle thing. You're making time to relax. You're choosing to relax instead of doing something else that's going to be more stressful many times, and you're socializing, hopefully not by yourself. So, like you said, it's a side effect sort of.
Well, I mean, I think socializing is good for your health, and if it's they call it a social lubricant. Obviously, again, you don't want to drink too much because that's never good. You get sloppy if you've been drinking too much. It's not high quality communication. But if it's just a little bit to lubricate you socially, and if it winds up causing you to people and talk to them more than you otherwise would, that's good for your health, I think.
Well, now I have a sign behind me. It says, if you are drinking with your wine, you're not drinking alone. So that would be social.
As long
So
as it's a stimulating conversation, it helps you relax, Ryan. And I guess you're covered.
exactly.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't think it's definitely bad to drink alone. I mean, what's somebody who lives alone supposed to do? They're never. It's never good to drink if you live alone. You have
Not
to
that you're
wait.
not supposed to
wait
drink.
for company.
Some of the benefits may be less, and
Yeah.
also alcohol is a direct cardiotoxin. My cardiologist professor used to say she never drank, so that's a counterbalance too. I mean, maybe people are more sensitive to that direct cardiotoxin effect. That's proven.
Right.
Any alcohol, the dosage level thing, like you're saying.
Now, what about if you are a runner and you go run from, and then go drink a few glasses of wine after that?
That's a tougher one. I mean, maybe you need that antioxidant value more. I don't know, but also the direct cardiotoxin effect might be more as well if your heart's trying to beat faster still. Good question.
Okay.
Well, we should do a project on that.
Yeah, we should. We should. Well, I'm up to 11 miles for the week so far. I have 7 more to do on Saturday. So now you held up a bottle of wine. What wine are you drinking, James?
Yeah, we hadn't had this one for a while, so we decided to get it. It's called 19 Crimes.
Oh yeah, I've had that. That's really good.
So you know what the idea behind it is, sort of thing.
Tell me. No, I don't know.
This guy looks like a prototypical Australian too, does he? Basically, it's the 19 crimes that would send you to Australia back in England. So, kind of like
so you feel a little bit naughty when you drink this wine.
yeah, exactly. I might just get transported today. I don't know.
Well, we
Deported.
won't report you to your superiors at Parkview at all.
And Jeff, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Grifone Sangiovese, Trader Joe's, $4.99. Oh, by the way, thank you. Ryan sent me a Christmas gift that arrived today, a brand new corkscrew that I haven't tried it yet, but between now and the next show, I will try it. So thank you very much for that. And I'm thinking, now that I have a better corkscrew, I should start drinking better wine. So I think you've inspired me. I can afford a little bit more than I've been paying, so I'm gonna step it up. But this is okay so far.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm drinking. There has been some scandals about being strangely muscular and somewhat effeminate. So tonight I'm drinking from the Silver Oak Cellars, this Cabernet Sauvignon, a 2017. It's a little on the pricey side. But the key thing is that it has brooding, it's a brooding, muscular rendition of Cabernet from the Alexander Valley. And it has gorgeous boysenberry notes. How do you like that? It's balanced by a grippy acidity. It's long and complex, it says.
Let me get a picture of that. Hold on.
I'll send it to you. It's all right. So anyway, there you go. It's kind of a muscular wine that I'm drinking tonight, Jeff.
All right. I don't know if it's strangely effeminate.
No.
Ryan is very muscular, yet strangely effeminate.
So
let's talk about the kind of drugs that you need a prescription for. We opened up with a video of RFK Jr. Expressing the intent to ban drug ads from television. Are you in favor of that? Why or why not, Dr. Schlotman?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people have realized for a long time we're like the only country with New Zealand that allows this. I mean, pretty much, I don't ask every other physician about this, but everyone I've talked to about it's been like, yeah, this is silly that these corporations basically go to the consumer and say, hey, you should get this drug and ask for this drug and create pressure for your physician to give certain drugs. And some of them are shown to have less therapeutic value even, in studies. So yeah, I'm definitely for banning as possible. Yeah.
James, when we spoke earlier, though, one thing you said, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about this more, you said, well, people come into the doctor and they really only have about 15 minutes, and they come in, they say, give me this drug. I want this drug.
Right.
Be-
Right.
So, I mean, how does that even happen, and why is that the how does that happen like that?
Well, I mean, once someone sees the commercial and then they have the symptoms that the commercial is saying, hey, we can get rid of, and there's all these smiling people with improved symptoms on the commercial, they may make up their mind before they even see the physician who may not
But
have.
you're an anesthesiologist. They don't have ads for the kind of drugs that put you to sleep, do they? Do you experience this pressure?
So they do. Why don't you try going to sleep for a little bit? No, no, they do advertise the Wegovy and other GLP-1 inhibitors that, actually they affect anesthesia because if all these people are on them, the side effect of your stomach not digesting your food becomes very relevant, because if your food is still sitting there, then it might be a danger to you when you go off to sleep for anesthesia. So we've had to invent, kind of like create new guidelines. The American Society of Anesthesiologists.
You think the patients come in and they tell you how they want you to put them to sleep, what they want you to use?
So here's how it happens. If someone's on Wegovy, for example, and they come in and they're still taking it, they haven't stopped it like they're supposed to, whatever they ate 2 days ago may still be in their stomach because your stomach doesn't work as well. And that's how the drug works, one of the ways. So then you got food in your stomach and you come in for a procedure, elective procedure, and it might get canceled. But you don't know that when you see the Wegovy commercial with the people smiling and losing weight or whatever, just you're just not aware of that, and that's one of the bad things that
So they're getting prescribed by other doctors and on this drug before they come.
Yeah,
for
right.
surgery.
Yeah, but I'm just letting you know how drugs that you see on TV can even affect something like anesthesia. Aspiration risk is pretty.
I can believe that patients, mention what they want because they've seen it on TV, but I'm a little skeptical that it's really pressuring the doctor. Like they would really have a hard time. Like a doctor couldn't handle replying to it.
Well, hold on. Take that one step further. Again, when we were speaking earlier, you also said that the profit motive is pushed onto the doctor too.
Right. Let me explain that real quick. Like, since Obamacare and the whole idea of quality of care came up, one of the things they tie to your quality score, quote unquote, is patient satisfaction sometimes. So if the patient isn't satisfied, and this really affected the opiate crisis a little bit because people wanted to keep the patients happy. So rather than maybe teaching as much coping skills or expecting the patient to cope, they'd be more likely to give the opiate that the patient decided that they wanted. So that's one way the pharmaceutical companies can get you into trouble if they're pushing their medication. And so your payments as a physician can be tied to your satisfaction scores of the patient, which is sort of a, so if they come to you and they or they could just go to another doctor. If you don't give them what they're asking for, the physician sort of knows, and I'm not saying that they would prescribe because of that, but it's certainly an influence. And we know that doctors are human too, and they can be motivated with certain outside influences because we're human, right? So that's the risk there. It's a whole complicated beast which serves the pharmaceutical companies sometimes, and the hospitals maybe, or insurance corporations more than the patients, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Now RFK has made the point, and others have too, that these commercials aren't even that effective, and the main reason that there's so much advertising being purchased is so that they more or less can own the media companies, in the sense that they will then not report news that is detrimental to their business. And that's basically, it's a form of bribery. Do you buy that logic?
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that as well. And I've heard that argument before. It's, I mean, when you have the pharmaceutical companies putting that much money into these networks, like, for example, I think the prime time especially is a slot that they pay a lot of money into. So you have shows like Anderson Cooper or other primetime news shows that have a lot of their money from the pharmaceutical industry. Then, if they're going to do a story that's not beneficial to them, just like physicians, I mean, news anchors, I'd say, can be biased that way as well, potentially, unfortunately.
So
in a way, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so then if we were to do what Bobby Kennedy is saying and block these ads, one question I have is, then what? because I'm reading in, for example, the London Guardian. They had an article today. Wild West, experts concerned by illegal promotion of weight loss jabs in the UK. So it's against the law, but they're basically pushing it anyway. And then you have TikTok, you have these so-called Zofran Girlies Rise Up tagline where these girls, I guess they get sick, they're nauseous. I don't know if they're of what that, and so they're pushing it so they're trying to figure out how to rein it in, even though it's illegal there. So what happens when you get rid of that?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think we should do something based on whether it's going to create an illegal market or not for these ads. And certainly influencers might still be able to get around that somehow. But the point is, I mean, do you do the right thing because it's right, or because or do you not do it because some people might get around it?
Well, are we sure it's the right thing? Because so far we haven't mentioned the elephant in the room, which is the First Amendment. And so that is one of the reasons I'm a little bit hesitant to even take this idea seriously. I know RFK is clueless when it comes to the Citizens United issue. I've heard him talk about it in a very emotional
Well, everybody
way.
is, Jeff. A lot of people don't get that one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And he.
So you're saying the corporations have a right of speech too? They have a freedom of speech as well because this is.
Well, everybody does, and so it's possible there's a way around it, but you'd actually have to articulate what the way around it is. You can't get around the First Amendment by ignoring it, and that's why I'm saying it's hard to take RFK seriously if he's not even going to say anything about it.
Well, Jeff,
have you thought about the First Amendment?
So not in terms of Citizens United. No, I knew that.
No, in terms of this, in terms of the prescription.
Well, so as a corporation, I don't know how that works. If the corporation has a freedom of speech, obviously, if you're on TikTok and you want to say, "Hey, Zofran works for me," then maybe that is covered. That's a good point.
Well, also for TV ads. I mean, it's not immediately apparent how it would not violate the First Amendment to ban the TV ads.
Well, no, wait a second, Jeff. If it's something James said earlier, which was, what if the patients don't actually need it, or it could actually harm them? They don't know that. And if they're coming into the doctor's office and demanding something that actually could harm them, right?
Or if it's masking something else as well, right? Zofran, for example, sounds like a harmless drug, right? But it can cause cardiac side effects that in some people would not be that great. And if you have people saying, "Hey, put it in the water, it's really safe," that might not be good for everybody, right? Even though the profile is pretty good, if someone has QT prolongation with some other drug that they're on, then it wouldn't be so good for them, right? So I don't know. If you have people getting around that and I don't know, it's just part of it for me actually is the whole idea of for profits. The pharmaceutical industry is getting in the way of the physician-patient relationship, so to speak, of potentially altering, skewing, or compromising in a bad way. And this is just normalized now, right? So you might have to maybe pass some legislation that says, hey, this is actually something that's been important to our society for some time, and physicians and patients should have, that relationship should be taken into account somehow.
Yeah. Well, one of our viewers got me looking at the internet here. They said, well, what about cigarette ads? So that's exactly the sort of argument that I'm looking for. I didn't think of it earlier today. I was thinking of liquor and guns, and though it's legal to advertise, although the manufacturers impose a self-imposed moratorium, but it's not against the law to advertise guns, not against the law to advertise liquor. But I forgot about cigarettes. So I guess maybe whatever the argument is that justifies banning cigarette ads might apply to this too.
What was that you just said, James?
So that you mentioned guns. It's interesting. There are laws in some states. I am not sure if it's Virginia, where the physician there were at least bills that they could not mention guns. Like you're talking to a patient about safety. Do you feel safe in your home? The gun advocates said, you're not going to be able to talk about guns because that's a right issue. So that's kind of like on the opposite foot there, right? You can stop the physician from mentioning certain things potentially. And I haven't heard an outcry about that. And that's sort of what I'm getting at here. Like it's the corporations who are protecting their interests, but other things are getting downgraded to a second level priority. Things that are probably more important that we take for granted.
Right. Well, maybe that brings up another question. If the corporations have the ability to exercise their so-called rights more than the average citizen does, is that really protected in the same way that it's for you and for me? Because I know I don't have the ability to go out and hire $1 million lawyers, not one, let alone three or four, and keep them on retainer to ensure my rights.
Well, that's true, but that's really unavoidable. I mean, I don't know how you remedy that by saying, "Oh, you must hire crappy lawyers or something."
Well, it might be a time and place kind of thing, right? Like there are certain places you cannot, and I think this is sort of what you're saying, James. Maybe there are certain places you can't talk, you can't have free speech. Certain places you can have free speech.
Well, yeah, there are exceptions, but there's got to be a principle for it. That's what I'm getting at, and that's why I wish I had thought of cigarettes earlier, because I'm trying to read this while we're talking.
You're getting down the weeds there now, Jeff.
Well, you got to, because if this is going to, this has been an issue. This has been an issue over the years. They've tried to ban pharmaceutical ads, and they've lost in the courts on First Amendment grounds. So if this is going to be a real thing, you got to have an argument.
Is this a route to overturn some of that bogus thing, like Citizen United, which is something that I know RFK has spoken against. A lot of especially liberals have in the past. It's unfortunate that now that he's been split onto the bad side. No, he's bad now. Liberals aren't allowed to listen to him, unfortunately. I don't know if the sad thing is that a lot of people that might agree with him, that would agree with him, good friends of mine who are good people, happen to be liberal, they might say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to anything he has to say. We're going to resist. And it's there's almost like this borderline personality thing with America right now, where even if it's a great idea, if it's coming from the guy you don't like, you'd rather focus on what your side says is bad, your set of facts.
That's a good point. So he mentioned in that video clip we showed that drugs are much more expensive here than they are in other countries. And he sort of lumped that in with the argument about advertising on TV. I'm not sure how those two things are linked. But let me ask you, why are drugs so expensive here compared to other countries?
Well, we're paying more because you see a brand name on TV and that's what you want. And as a patient, you might not know that the brand name and generic are the exact same molecule, but your brand name might have that good feeling in your gut from the advertisement. And maybe you think the generic, because the term generic honestly has a bad connotation, you might think it's something different or not as good. So you might not. So that's one thing that's been published through JAMA.
But aren't, no, of course, I mean, I know that generic drugs are less expensive, but aren't even the cost of generic drugs, aren't they still much more expensive than they are in other countries?
I don't doubt that. But if you're talking about the overall cost, people.
But why? Why is the question?
Brand names. That is a good question. We're not allowed to negotiate, I guess, with Medicare and Medicaid aren't allowed to negotiate. There's been some argument about that for some time. I think actually one thing the Biden administration did do well was get some of those things down. There was crazy epi prices that pharma bro dude was Kelly or something like that. The guy that charged like $2,000 or $2,000 for a dose of life-saving epinephrine for kids that could die from anaphylaxis. You know, when you see things like that, that's really scary. And those have been tamped down some, but overall, we just can't.
See, I'm asking these questions because I suspect that we might be barking up the wrong tree with this ban on TV ads. I think there may be other ways to get at the heart of the matter. For example, the pharmaceutical industry spends a lot of money basically bribing doctors by giving them free samples. Here are some specific figures: $31 billion worth of free samples to doctors. Is that something that's possible to regulate? And are you witnessing that?
Yeah. So
personally?
that's an interesting topic. The thing is, and that's part of the way they get people to take the brand name, is though they'll give you free samples of the brand name, and the patient wants the brand name still. But you got to remember, these samples are probably going to patients who need them. So your patients who aren't going to be able to afford them, that's why something like this is allowed to remain in place after like the Sunshine Act, and doctors actually themselves, the AMA included as an organization, clamped down on some of the more blatant doctors getting $10,000 trips to Hawaii and things like that, and all this money right after biopsy.
Why do you think it's like some special low income people? Because it seems to me that doctors don't really know what someone's income level is, and if they're talking to a patient, almost anybody would appreciate a free sample. Why do you think it's only going to low income people?
Well, I've seen it. I mean, but that's, maybe I'm biased because that's where I trained in low income, like family medicine areas when I did my rotations and whatnot. I've kind of seen the samples being used. So that's one thing. And maybe it is sort of like, that's one thing that they're doing that's helping the doctors, and the doctors are less likely to, I don't know, but I'm saying the biggest abuses were erased after the whole Vioxx scandal, when there was some shady stuff going on in the industry, and a lot of these trips were taken away. In fact, you can hardly get a pen with a pharmaceutical name on it now in the hospital, because they think that's why people become doctors, because they want for free pens. I guess I don't know, but anyways, that's a good, interesting point you bring up.
So now you talked about quite a few things there. I was thinking about levothyroxine versus Synthroid. I don't even know if one of those is generic to the other one or not. And I thought, you were saying that they are the same, but I think in that case, they're not exactly the same.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know at all. But I was told by my doctor.
Why are almost all medications impossible to pronounce? What's up? What's up with that? That's worse than anesthesia compared to anesthesiology.
Did you like that I said that, Jeff? Levothyroxine?
Levothyroxine is like the generic name, right? It's the thyroid.
That's for thyroid. Yeah, I take that. I had half my thyroid.
But the quality might be different. Like
generics are more difficult, and that's part of it too. Like you say Synthroid, and that's an easy thing to say. You ask for Synthroid, that's what you get, and it's a brand name. That one, I don't know if it's a great example because it's been out so long, it might be off patent. One thing they'll do is they'll take two medicines and combine them and say, oh, this is what this is now. You want this one because it's got two meds, and now it costs more because of that. It's a new patent, a new combination, right? Look, I think the main point is that there's like an undue sort of influence from the pharmaceutical industry here that we're seeing overall. So let's not get caught in the weeds on this particular issue. If this is just a bargaining chip for RFK and the NIH in the end, if this is just something where they're like, we might try to take this away, but if you kind of play ball with us and try to make the Americans healthier overall, like maybe you could have some commercials about how good fruits and vegetables are, or something like that, right? There may be some.
Jeff doesn't like fruits and vegetables.
That's not true. That's not true.
The biggest problem we have now is people not being behind RFK because they are not helping with the specific things that he's doing that are great, like fighting PFAs, because the political side is gotten a little bipolar or borderline, and they're like, and I'm talking about on both sides, like our whole country. If our country stays polarized, this stuff doesn't change very much, from this overall.
That's a good point.
All right, before we let you go, let me ask you a question that I've always wondered about anesthesiologists. I say always, ever since I had a colonoscopy, I wondered this.
Okay.
And it may sound insulting to you, and I don't mean it that way. I want to preface it by saying I'm an idiot. So keep that in mind. That's why I'm ignorant. I admit it. That's why I'm asking this. It's not intended as an insult.
I'll give you a non-idiot answer here.
Okay.
Well, what I was wondering is how complicated is it to be trained to be an anesthesiologist?
Right.
Because what I was getting at is it seems to me, and again, I'm sorry, I'm probably wrong. It seems like it's just like a regular doctor who's doing the surgery could probably learn to do it. Why are they separate jobs?
So you're using one of the simplest cases there are out there. First off,
Mhm.
for colonoscopy, it's not considered invasive. It's pretty routine, very low chance of lower complication rates from
Right.
the medicine itself. And that is something that used to be done with conscious sedation by the GI doc more often. But the people would remember the colonoscopy and it would be distressing and uncomfortable. And some people need higher doses and higher doses of medicine, right? And maybe they don't. So that uncomfortable nature of the experience, and honestly, like the GI doc trying to do two things at once, and like because you could stop breathing. I mean, potentially, let's not forget that. And then so having someone watch you, whether it's an anesthesiologist or anesthesia assistant or nurse anesthetist underneath an anesthesiologist,
I see.
then that's going to be, it seems. Then you can kind of see it, and you're actually, as an anesthesiologist, if you're overseeing 4 different rooms, then you're kind of overseeing all this care, and if there's an emergency, you're available, right?
Right.
Just because there are emergencies.
Same for the colonoscopy doctor too. It frees them up to do other things. Because I was out cold before I ever saw the guy who did my colonoscopy.
Right.
For all I know, they got some guy on the street to do it. I'd have no idea.
And the last
rather
question. I have
ahead.
one more question because we are going to move on here a second. I really appreciate you being here. We're going to have you back. But I see this in some of the comments. Doctors, are they all just bought and paid for? Are there none of them that would recommend or natural remedies or whatever, things like that? Or is that just because you don't make the money off of it?
That's a real simple one right before we get off here. I will say that the doctor-patient relationship, like I was saying, is sort of a little less ideal nowadays, just because of the production pressure. You mentioned the colonoscopies. Like, I'll go back to that. If someone has to do 20 colonoscopies a day or something like that, if you're the anesthesiologist, or you have like a very little time to talk to the person. So whether it's that or a primary care visit, it might not seem like you're attentive to their needs or offering compassion or something. There's a time pressure there to even, and with the patients, trust after COVID, especially, like that, some of that's gone. So the whole doctor-patient, connection is under, and it is true that, physicians have a certain toolkit, and in their toolkit is drugs from the pharmaceutical company a lot of times. That's not to say that they don't encourage good eating and diet and exercise, but a lot of the guidelines say, who designs the guidelines, not necessarily that physician, could be other interests involved. They say these are the drugs that you give, and you want to help your patient. But I don't hear any doctor saying don't exercise more or eat better.
Okay.
And the thing is, if you're talking about natural treatments, sometimes you don't know where they come from. You don't know if they're regulated, how much of the substance, ginkgo biloba or whatever they have, and so there's like a.
But RFK definitely is going to be promoting those, let's just say, healthier lifestyle kind of things. Maybe preventatively is also the way to approach that answer. So.
No, I think that's great. I'm all for it, and I think a lot of physicians are. But like nobody goes to med school and goes through 12 or more years of training. It basically studies their rear end off since they're 5 years old to be like, oh, I just want the money. There's a deeper motivation. Unfortunately, the reality of being a physician with all the competing interests does put a strain on a lot of people in the relationship with patient.
Well, thanks very much, Dr. James Schlotman. It was really great.
Yeah.
I know that since I've known you, you have always wanted to be a doctor and to help people, so that it comes straight from the heart. And I've never forgotten when you and I have had some intense discussions about that in the past. So thanks for coming on with us and discussing this with us.
Thank you. Really appreciate not only informing us about the prescription drug issue, but making us feel better about our excessive drinking. Really appreciate that.
That's what I was all about, Jeff. Good to meet you, man.
Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you very
all
much.
the best.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Wow.
Do you think I insulted him with that question about?
No. I don't think he did at all.
That's good. That's good. I was a little hesitant to ask it, but I was so curious I had to ask it. Well, look who's here. It's our friend Jose Vega. How you doing, Jose?
I'm doing good. I just got back, did some traveling, and I'm joining you guys tonight.
Wait. What is that? What wine? What vintage? What year? What winery?
I think this is Twisted Tea 2024.
Oh, Twisted Tea. Probably a lot of sugar in that one too.
But keeping with the tradition of, I heard what you guys just had on. I actually just made my own bread for the first time.
Oh.
See, it's only 3 ingredients too. I kind of burned the bottom of it, but
All right.
It's first time. So I'm slowly making Jose healthy again.
Okay.
Right there.
There you go. So now let me just clarify here. This is our new segment, which is Project 250. And Jeff, you and Jose, you led the charge against me on the naming of Project 250. I have adopted it, but tell us about why it's Project 250.
Well, it's the 250th birthday of our nation coming up in 2026, and we want to connect to all the awareness and hoopla surrounding that and do our part to inspire an American revival. How do you feel about it, Jose?
Yeah, I mean, what better opportunity to try and remind and revive the spirit of the United States with, what better occasion than the 250th anniversary of the founding of our country, which is coming up in 2 years, although the Battle of Lexington and Concord was April of 1775, and that's often considered the first successful campaign of the American Revolution. So honestly, I think, that's why we can have a whole year-long celebration starting in 2025, going into 2026, and it lines up well because Jeff's favorite president, Donald Trump, has been talking about putting a committee together of having a year-long worth of festivities celebrating the 250th anniversary of our country. So, actually, I think not just 2025 into 2026, but 2026 into 2027 as well. You get both years, going in and coming out.
And Jose's specific focus is on activism and in recruiting other activists and guiding them. And we have one such aspiring activist on the phone now. And she is in the process of creating her very first petition. So we are going to take a look at that and work on that together live in front of our beloved audience. That's right. Samantha, are you there?
North Carolina. Are you there, North Carolina?
Isn't it South Carolina?
South Carolina. Are you there, South Carolina?
Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me.
All right. Well, by the way, while Jeff is figuring out the technology, Benjamin Franklin did meet with all of the people that helped him to pull together the nation, and they did drink wine and probably mead, I think, and a few other little things like that as they discussed their political ideas.
Samantha, are you there?
Yeah, they probably had malt beverages, right?
Well, it definitely was some different kinds of beers and meads and things like that.
Yeah, there you go. You see, so I'm fitting right in with the spirit.
Absolutely.
I just came back from down south myself too. So.
Now, are you in your new place now? Because it seems different where you are.
Are you trying to dox me?
No. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just suggesting it just looks like you're in a different room or something like that.
No, I'm in the same room. I'm just on the other side of the table.
Okay.
I have not had a chance to set up my new setup yet, courtesy of our friend Jeff here. But once I actually settle back in, I'll be able to have that all set up probably by next week when I come back on. Yeah.
Do you have any interventions planned? Probably not while it's the outgoing Congress, I'm guessing.
No, I don't. Not anything that I can see. I mean, frankly, they've all been reelected, and they all pretended to care for a bit. So, but my radars are always open and willing, and I will go. I will go as far as California to do an intervention.
And what do you think about? Remember, we just had this whole big fight about the legislation, right? The continuing resolution, and there was a lot of talk about bringing in Massey, getting rid of Johnson. Now, nobody's talking about any of that now.
Well, I mean, they passed the stopgap spending bill, which, hey, averted a government. Honestly, I think the whole spending bill that comes up every few years or so is just a big kafabi, or a big show, because these people have, vacations that they've already paid for and booked their hotels and trips and plane tickets. They have no intention of working overtime through the holidays. They want to get out of there just as much as anybody else who works a 9 to 5 wants to get out and not be at work. Although these guys don't work 9 to 5s. They only have to be in the Congress 130 days out of the year. But,
Right.
They don't really work hard, but, they were never going to not pass something. They were always going to pass something. They were always going to, so, yeah.
So I don't know if you heard our discussion with Dr. Schlotman, but have you had any thoughts on this question of limiting the pharmaceutical advertising?
I actually kind of like what RFK is talking about with outright banning medications. I mean, medications that to be advertised on TV, I think, they put these ideas in people's heads. Oh man, I guess it's just you and I now, Ryan.
Hey.
All right, we'll roll with the punch here. I think the fact that, it's like, I don't know if people know exactly more than their doctor does, I guess the commercials say, ask your doctor about whatever, and then.
So the New York Times had an article in June. It's time to ban pharmaceutical advertising, and that's where I read about this Zofran, which I don't know what to make of it so much. It's one of these drugs that is advertised a lot on TikTok by hot girls. That's literally how they say it. But one thing that I was thinking about, and I think Jeff is probably having to, I don't know, there's some connection issue going on. Oh,
is he? Oh,
hold on. Jeff, we don't hear you. You're muted. Jeff, if you're talking to us, hold on a second.
Samantha, can you hear us?
I'm here. Hey, it's me.
Yay, there she is.
All right, we got that settled.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to run outside to make sure I get good service. Okay, so let me just run out in the cold. Hold on.
We can hear you fine.
We hear you just fine.
okay.
Okay.
So definitely
All right.
people are interested in the question of how to deal with their congressmen, how to deal with their senators. Samantha has been dealing with her elected official for some time. So Samantha, are you there?
I'm still here. You want me to talk about it real quick?
Yeah.
Just relax. You don't have to go outside. We heard you fine.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Great. Okay.
Please make yourself comfortable. Samantha is in the process of making a petition or getting one. Let's put it on the screen so everybody can see it. And Samantha, this is the first time she's done that. So let's not judge too harshly. And instead, let's applaud Samantha for even making the effort. And let's see what Jose thinks about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to read it, and I want everyone's opinion, even in the chat room. I want y'all to tell me what you think and how it can be better, because we're all working together here. But I'll just read it out loud really quick for those who aren't looking at the screen. It says, we, the undersigned members of South Carolina's 2nd Congressional District, call upon our elected representative, the Honorable Joe Wilson, to represent the will of his constituents. We, the people, want peace. We do not want any further escalation or involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war, and we do not want any further conflict in the Middle East. It is our request that Congressman Joe Wilson openly advocate for peace As a prominent member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and chairman of the Subcommittee on the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia, we understand that Mr. Wilson's policies and actions have a direct effect on the current geopolitical climate. We therefore ask that all future policies and actions taken by Joe Wilson directly reflect the will of his constituents. Any further misrepresentation will result in a loss of our support now and in the next congressional election. Okay, so those are wrote. I need to know what people think, and I need to know the best way to get signatures besides door to door. If you guys have any advice, let's do this. I'm ready.
All right, let's start with Jose. He's our Project 250 guru. What do you
All
think
right.
about that? I have something in mind, but I want to hear it from you first.
Well, first of all, the only alteration I would make to the petition is probably something specific, right? Because if you're calling for peace or involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war, he'll say, I want peace too. We all want peace.
Yeah, okay.
You know, one line that I hear repeated often is peace through strength, you know, that we need to have, you know, this military presence. We need these ATACMS. We need the threat of nuclear war as a deterrent, right? You know, Russia needs to know that they can't keep bullying Ukraine. These are some of the lines. So I would have something specific, like, for example, you would want him to back this ATACMS bill, 1021-8, you know, or that you would want him to advocate for, you know, an arms embargo with Israel. Right, something like that. You know, like what specifically do you want? Because, you know, these congressmen are just snakes, and they will take what you say and they'll say like, oh, I completely agree with you. I want peace too. And going forward, all my policies will be dedicated to getting peace just my way, you know, and that's how they'll twist it. So you definitely got to pin him down on something specific. Now, instead of just going door to door, I mean, you could just go out into a corner, set up a table.
When you say a corner, you mean like an intersection, a street intersection.
A busy street intersection with some signs. You know, you can have a catchy sign that says something like, you know, sign here for peace, something like that. You know, if you want to go out in the streets of South Carolina, I'll be happy to join you. Give me some time, and I will go down to South Carolina. And
well, speaking of specificity, and Jose, maybe you can talk about this from the standpoint that you are with Samantha. Joe Wilson, Representative Joe Wilson, came out and tweeted today that the so-called shadowy Georgian billionaire by the name of, I don't know if I can say it, Bzina Ivanishvili, who is a lover of China and Iran, hater of America, is trying to transform Georgia from a democracy into a dictatorship. And this doofus, General Ben Hodges, started talking about how we need a strategy to deal with these guys. So you're talking about specificity. I mean, he's being very specific in terms of these are naming the enemies and the targets.
Yeah, he is, but that doesn't help Samantha.
So I'm saying Jose can describe.
Well, what about the ATACMS bill, the bill to prevent further
That is
funding?
specific, yeah.
Well, I have a question about that. When is that going to be put up? Because in order for this to be effective, I need a lot of signatures, right? So when is that going to be put up for a vote? Because if it's going to be next week, I'm not going to have enough signatures, I don't think.
Well, you know, the way Congress works is that the Speaker of the House is the person who decides what gets voted on, what gets brought. I don't know if it even passed. I know it was introduced through the Foreign Affairs Committee. I don't know if the committee has even voted on it. But the committee has to vote on it, and then it gets brought to the General Congress. But the person who decides these things is the Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House will usually bring forward a bill depending on who's sponsoring it. You know, for example, if you like one all-time strategy, and, you know, people like Medea Benjamin, you know, who should be a future guest sometime, you know, because she's been doing this a lot longer than I've been. But a whole, you know, one long-time strategy is if you can get a senator to back this as well as a congressman. Because, you know, the way a bill becomes law, and some people may not know this, right? You know, it has to pass the Congress first. So it has to, you know, out of the 435 congressmen that have the power to vote, you know, a majority of them have to agree, yes, we want this to be law. Then it has to go up to the Senate, you know, and then the Senate has to have a majority passing the law as well. But even then, it's still not law because the president has to sign it. And then the president...
Okay, I have a question now.
Yeah.
Just about basic United States stuff. I know that House, Senate, all that, but I've seen like can't senators make bills? Does the House have to approve of those? Can the Senate go first? I guess is what I'm
sometimes
because I think they can. So how does that process work?
Sometimes they do that. Sometimes, things do get introduced through the Senate and then the Senate votes on it, but then it still has to go to the House. It still has to have
both. So it just would flip over. Okay,
Let me ask a question about getting signatures. You may have noticed that we're in the internet age now, and we're talking about going out onto street corners and so forth. What about getting electronic signatures on an electronic petition?
Well, you're asking me?
Yes.
There's something about it. I mean, could you there's authentication, and how would you prove that all the signatures that you started on an internet? Because the thing that would make this potent is not just disgruntled Americans from everywhere. It's disgruntled Americans in that district, that could actually pack a punch, right? Because the what she's saying is we're threatening by pulling you out. Now, if you use the power of the internet to target the zip codes that the congressman represents, and then you had a way of verifying that the person is who they say they are. Yeah, I could see that too. But there's just something
that makes sense. But if authenticating it is a need, that's an extra burden on Samantha, even if she's out on the street. How does she do that?
I don't know about that because aren't there county council meetings I can go to and I could just yell at everybody and say, sign this petition? I could speak in front of the county council and then.
I think
that's a way to get to people in your district, but that doesn't authenticate it. Just because you said, "Hey,"
if they put their signature in their zip code, though, if they have their signature in their zip code, that should authenticate it, right? What do they need on that? What do I need to have them write down? I didn't even think of that. I'm just,
They put their zip code on an electronic.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, I think that what Jeff is saying is definitely an aspect of the process. And without getting too technical about it, part of it is just bringing attention to it. Being out there on the street corner, having big signs, doing that kind of thing, and getting signatures because, it does... People then put their brain on it when they sign something. They have a thought that maybe this is important. But most people don't even know this bill exists. Will it be introduced in the next Congress? So you're doing that kind of thing or talking. I don't know if you've talked to your senator yet because of what you brought up, Samantha. That's a great idea to talk to your senator and also your state representatives. I don't know, Jose, did you mention something about the state representatives? Or what do you think about bringing state reps into that process?
Well, sometimes you can have a state representative write a letter that says friend, a letter to my colleagues. And you can have a state assemblyman or a state senator write a letter to the congressman and say hey, my ear's on the ground. I'm here all the time. You're in Washington all the time. I'm here all the time. And, my constituents are saying they want this. And so I also support this. And, also as a constituent, of yours, because I would assume, right? It'd be funny if you got the state senator of your district who also happens to overlap with your congressman. I think that would be effective there too,
Yeah.
Well, like Ryan said, the name of the game is getting attention. To that end, what about something other than a petition altogether, like organizing a town hall? I mean, there's a lot of work involved for Samantha or whomever's doing it either way, but one issue is what's the burden of organizing? The other is what would be more effective, Jose?
A town hall is a good idea, especially if you have somebody who is recognizable. That's a case right there where if you did have a state representative, who's well known in the area, maybe there is somebody, Samantha, maybe there isn't. I know here in the Bronx, these state legislators do have a lot of sway here. They are known, and actually, if you want to talk about how the machines work, right? A lot of the federal positions are, they required to work with the more local politicians because they actually have their ear on the ground and they're the ones who whip the votes. for whoever it is they want to get into that position. So, a town hall is a great idea. And I think if you can get 50 to even 100 people in a room specifically talking about this event, because you have a right to deliberate. And I'm pretty sure, although take this with a grain of salt, but City Hall is supposed to have rooms for citizens to be used to deliberate, right? Because there is a right to assembly and people need to have a place to assemble. And I'm pretty sure almost all city halls around the country have to let you use some kind of room for deliberation. But take that with a grain of salt. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's something else. Yeah.
So that would be worth verifying.
That would be worth it. Yeah, absolutely. So I was just thinking, Samantha, now I hope you're taking notes, because now you verify about the City Hall. Maybe you get...
yeah, I am taking notes. I got a pencil and my notebook, and I'm taking notes.
That's
See,
good.
it may not be one thing or the other. It may be a combination. Maybe a combination of an electronic petition, a paper petition, and a town hall.
Well, what I was going to say is the petitioning can be the field of people that become the town hall, right? And become the people that go talk to the state representative, who then gets the state representative to write the Dear Colleague letter. And,
especially if you get their email address when they sign the petition.
So you can get a whole, like a ball rolling, get a steamroller effect. Or snowball effect.
Oh my goodness, this is so big. We can do so much. This is crazy.
We can probably help with the electronic aspect of it, meaning we can put something on the website. So let's think about how to connect all these dots.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have electronic petition, door-to-door signing, organize a town hall. Hopefully that doesn't cost money. And then go and in city halls. I can do a town hall in City Hall, right?
Possibly, right? You're going to have to look into that.
Send up some drones also, because I understand drones get a lot of attention.
Oh, yes. Do the drones.
Watch out. Oh, that's what's going on.
Just drop
Those
the petition on the doorstep by the drones. It'll be great.
Look who's talking about drones. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but do you realize like how quickly one person alone isn't going to be able to do this? This is why you have to find people in your community. And I think the best way to find people who feel as passionate as you do is going out to an intersection. It's hard work. I'm not saying it's easy. It is pretty hard. But you'll find like-minded people. And when you do, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh my God, there's somebody who is as passionate as I am about this, who wants to help me get this going, who will share this responsibility and burden with me.
Oh, now I have a question, Jose, and maybe this is for Samantha, because Samantha, I think she sings a little bit. What if she wrote a song also? Does that actually, lighten people up and make them more comfortable to want to participate if you're out there singing a song or something?
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Are you kidding me?
Depends what the song is. John Lennon was great at writing anthems, right? Give peace a chance. I'm great at writing anthems too. I'll help you.
Ryan is very muscular, yet strangely effeminate.
This could be the new peace movement anthem.
Hey, that's okay with me. It'll bring everybody to the cause.
Could you imagine like thousands of people out in the crowd singing that, carrying "Stop the War" banners,
doing their
I could sing my Russian Christmas song. I could sing my Russian Christmas song that I'm working on the street corner, and then people will come over.
Congressman Joe Wilson is very anti-Russian, so that might not go well with him. So
only if he's there, it won't go well. He won't have to see me singing it or hear me.
Right. That's true.
Music, you want any revolution to be fun. That's what attracts people. So
exactly.
And then, like I say, if there's an anthemic quality to it, then that could also help. So.
That's true. I was hoping that my adorable face would do it, but it probably need more than that.
That won't hurt.
I just realized, by the way, Joe Wilson, as you say in the petition, is on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. This bill, HR 1021-8, has to be passed by the committee. And given that he's on the committee, something specific to pin him on would be, hey, we want this bill to pass the committee. Given that you're on the committee, we want to know that you will have a yes vote on this. And that's
okay.
Yeah. I mean, him
So
being.
he has to actually, like, the committee has to say, okay, this bill will go to the House now, right?
Right. It has to be voted out of committee. That's right.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people are in the committee,
Yeah.
but the majority of the committee has to vote yes.
So that's the other thing you can do is you can get all those people that signed your petition to call all the members of the committee.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That's
All
a
right.
lot of members,
Now
I know,
you
because
just take it bite size. Bite size. Don't try to do all the steps at once. Samantha, you might trip. So one thing at a time. Step one, then step two. Right.
And then on our end, Ryan and Jose, do I have your commitment that we'll talk amongst ourselves about how we can support it on the website and maybe get the electronic component going?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, because I think one thing I'm already thinking about is the fact that if this is a committee vote and you have a lot of people who watch, for example, the ranking members are Gregory Meeks and Michael McFaul, right? So
Michael McFaul.
You can have people who live in the constituencies of people who are on the committee also sign the petition. So it's like, hey, is this your zip code? And then maybe we can have a list of like zip codes. If this is your zip code.
Well, can we have everyone call the Foreign Affairs Committee? Like everyone who watches Scott Ritter's show, call the Foreign Affairs Committee and say we want this bill passed?
Definitely we should come up with something like what Jose is, some combination of this to because also, Samantha, if there is a website that you can point people to, that's also a good thing too. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm doing baby steps.
Yep.
What is my first toddler step here? Where should I go next?
Well,
I think the
What's the
petition's
very next
good.
step?
I think the petition is sort of
How about revise the petition as your first step? Make it specific.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I would just. Is it warm in South Carolina? It probably is, right?
Well, it depends on if you're adjusted to, like, if I'm from Maine, and I moved to South Carolina and it's 50 degrees today,
Yeah.
and that's balmy for me. That's nice for me.
It's like running weather.
Because you're wondering if there's going to be crowds gathering outside in various places. Is that why you're?
No, I'm just saying, like, I understand the enthusiasm and the eagerness. Like, let's just go. Let's just do it.
What does that have to do with the weather? I'm just wondering.
Well, because if it's 20 degrees outside, no one's gonna want to stop and talk to you. But like,
Oh yeah. That's what I meant. Okay.
There's a website we could probably feed this into. I'm just
Yes.
thinking.
Ours,
thinking.
civilknights.com.
Look at that. People were looking for a
All right.
website.
So revise the website. I'm sorry, revise the petition. We'll work on how to present it on the website. And that,
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look up like exactly what cities are in my constituency. I think I got two big ones. I got Augusta and Columbia, the state capital, are in my congressional district. So I can look up places there where I can either go on the street corner and talk about it, or like the best places to go to get the word out. That's my next little step after
But as Jose said, after he thought about it a bit, this is a national issue.
It
so
is.
It's good maybe to specify where everybody's from, but you don't have to exclude anybody else because it's a national issue.
yeah, I mean, I think like
That's true. I guess I just don't. I also kind of want to threaten to kick him out if he doesn't represent us because I really don't like him.
Well, you want to wait. You got to
as
build up some drum beat, right?
Well, why not have
Okay.
committee captains around the country for like this issue, right? Like we pick like, I don't know how many people we have on who are in the constituencies of some of these people on the committee. You know, if somebody is watching right now and you live where Brian Mast is the congressman, you know, peg legs, let me know. Okay, let me know. I want to work with you. I want to get that bastard out of there. He sucks. And I think, but anyway, let me not. My point is we can have, and I talked about this a while ago, actually, about having 435 independent voices, you know, one person in every congressional district taking the responsibility for telling the truth in that district, because you don't have to be elected to tell the truth. You can just elect yourself to tell the truth. So, you know, Samantha, I think you'd be the captain of Charleston, South Carolina, and we should find 433 other people who can also take.
Dude, there's someone who watches this show. that is in near Charleston, who's with Nancy Mace.
John in South Carolina. I don't
That's
remember
right.
what-
That's right.
Yeah.
Main
let's-
thing.
Yeah, I talked to
let's-
him. He
let's-
watches the show.
Yeah. Let's
And
find
you,
out
you guys were
how-
talking about meeting together, so definitely get that thing revised, and you know, that's a start. There's a guy you can go out there with. Maybe Jose can join you.
I mean, I just came back from the South. I'd be happy to go right back down. I mean, you know, like just
All right.
let's
That'd
get
be
it.
awesome. It'd be so much fun. We would have a great time.
Okay, I'll join
Okay.
too. I'm not far from South Carolina.
Yeah, so you go down, you pick up Jeff,
It's a
and
revolution.
you know, come down here, and we'll just have a blast, just telling the truth. Hit him with truth bombs. This is
I love this
awesome.
enthusiasm. All right, we'll do it. We'll do it.
All right. Thanks, Samantha.
Thank you, Samantha. Good work.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening, okay?
Yeah,
right.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.
All right, we've created a monster, and I mean that in the best of ways. All right,
That's
Jose,
right.
let's talk over the next couple of days, and we'll get this organized.
Let's do it.
All right,
All
Project
right, Jose.
250 is underway. By the way, and second, I'm not sure Project 250 is a good name for this segment. I think it's a good name for the
The
mission.
overall project, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like the Project 250 report, or you know what I mean, something like that might make more
Right.
sense.
That's right.
because
Like
I don't
the
think it makes
Drudge
much-
report, the
Yeah,
Jose
whatever.
report.
It doesn't have to be that, but the point is, it doesn't make much sense to say, and now Project 250 all by itself. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
All right. All right.
All right, Jose.
Thanks for
thank-
stopping by.
Thank you, Jose. Enjoy whatever that is you're drinking. We love you.
Bug juice. See ya.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, thanks to Dr. Schlotman. Is that how to pronounce your
Yes, that is James
Yeah, Thanks to
Schlotman.
Dr. Schlotman.
James
Thanks
Schlotman.
to you. Thanks to our beloved audience. And that'll do it, I guess. So we'll be back next Thursday at the usual time, 7 p.m. for the Whiners. And join us tomorrow night for Ask the Inspector with Scott Ritter at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on some of these same social media channels. And thanks again for the corkscrew. And also the socks. You gave me
Come
some
on, the
socks
socks
with a very
are nice.
there was great, a very naughty insignia.
Yes.
I don't use that kind of language, but I thought it was very funny.
Oh man, where's that sound effect when you need it? All right.
Which sound effect?
Why don't you go down?
Oh, this one.
Why don't you go outside and play hide and go fuck yourself?
All right. it's
You got to
something
wear
like that.
those socks when you play that.
Yeah. I don't mind if somebody else says it, but I don't.
All right.
All right. Take care, everybody. Stay sweet. God bless.